So, I have a question for you guys. Can we be over dieting yet? Like, as a society, as a collective, as women, can we finally stop spending so much of our hard earned time, money, and energy trying to lose weight? It's insane when you actually think about the fact that the diet industry is a $60 billion a year industry. That's an insane amount of money. And when you think about the fact that 85% of women are opting out of life's important activities because they don't like the way that they look. So, what does that mean? Diets are keeping women small. Diets and the diet culture that surrounds it, that makes us all feel like we're 10, 20, 30 pounds away from being good enough for the things we want to do in our lives. That entire system, it keeps women oppressed. And not only do we go along with it willingly, we actually pay money to be part of that. Hey, Jamie, thanks for saying hi, beautiful. Welcome to the broadcast. So, this is National Eating Disorders Awareness Week. NEDAawareness.org, NEDawareness.org, has been publishing some really interesting infographics and information so that we can all understand eating disorders and that phenomena in our society. I learned a couple of things that I didn't previously know, such as dieting is one of the most important indicators of whether or not a young woman is likely to have an eating disorder. This really rang true for me because I started dieting when I was like a little kid, like probably around age 7. And it wasn't like somebody forced me to go on a diet that young. It was just, I was around it. It was happening. My friends and their parents and my parents. And so I just picked up that diet mentality at a very young age. And then later in life, I've shared with you guys before that I've struggled with what I now know to be binge eating disorder. I never knew at the time that that's what that was called. I just thought like, I have no self-control. I have no discipline. I'm bad. I'm terrible. I'm wrong because why can't I stick to my diet? And then what I've come to realize now that I've sort of detoxed from the diet mentality is that by depriving myself and putting all these really rigid boundaries on what I can and can't eat, that was actually triggering the binge eating episode because I would go for a while like being really good and being on my diet, and then man, I would like go off the rails hard, head first into a bag of chips, secret eating. I would gorge myself, like stuff that's not even good, that if you ask me like, what's your last meal on earth? Like that's not the kind of food I would binge on. And this is pretty true, I think, for a lot of people that have struggled with binge eating disorder. You aren't really eating for pleasure. You're eating because in a reaction to the deprivation you've imposed on yourself. So once I figured out that pattern and I understood like, oh, I'm not terrible. I'm not worthless. I have value as a woman, even though I struggle with this stuff. That's what enabled me to get over binge eating. Tracy, thank you so much for weighing in. Thank you, girl, for sharing that you've also struggled with this. There's so many of us out there. And here's the thing. 85% of women are opting out of life's important life activities because of how they feel about their looks. This means that basically every woman that you know feels the same way that you do. They're just not talking about it. So it is so important for us to finally like call this out and say, hey, I'm suffering over here. This sucks. I am spending so much of my time and my money and my energy trying to fix the way that I look because I don't think I look good enough to do the things I want to do. But it's like all that stuff that you're trying to get to through dieting or like buying into expensive and complicated ways to change your exterior. Like, why are you doing that? Because you want to fall in love, because you want to be fulfilled in your career, because you want a better family life, because you just want to feel worthy for the other things that you're dreaming about. But you can get to those feelings and you can achieve those things without going through all the diet craziness, which is why I'm just like, guys, can we be over dieting? Hey, Jamie. Yes, chewing and spitting. Okay. So is this like a form of bulimia? I'm just not familiar with that particular eating behavior, but I'm sure there are women out here who need to hear what you're going through. So tell me a little more about your eating disorder. And anybody else who's watching right now, please feel free to jump into the comments, share what you're going through, what you've experienced, whether you've struggled with an eating disorder or somebody that you're close to, or you're just tired of feeling pressured to diet and lose weight all the time. Whatever it is that's on your mind, jump into the comments and let us know. We want to discuss what's going on with you and your issues, because that's what this is all about. It's about creating a dialogue. And this is the thing, like what we do as individual women, it might not feel like a big deal if you know, renew your Weight Watchers subscription or not. You might think, well, that really only affects me, whether or not I lose that extra weight this year or not. But every time that you spend your money and tell the diet industry, yes, I believe what you're telling me, that I do need to lose the weight in order to be happy. Every time you spend your money in that way, you're affirming all the negative stuff that we're trying to eradicate from society. So that's all like a very verbose, lofty way of saying how you spend your money, how you behave, and what you do on an individual level like really matters to this entire movement. If we want to let all women feel more free to do the things they want to do and be who they want to be without feeling the pressure to diet, we as individual women have to be the ones that lead the charge and say no on this individual level. Carrie, hey girl. Thank you for weighing in and talking about your stress eating behavior. So there's this myth out there. You guys have probably heard of it, being an emotional eater. Has anybody ever told you that? So I think that is like one of the most offensive things you can say to somebody. And also like, duh, I'm an emotional eater, because eating is an act of pleasure. So whether people admit it or not, even if you control your eating and you're really restrictive, and like these people that are on like crazy paleo, I eat only, you know, the things that cavemen would eat, they're still emotionally engaging with it because for some reason, like, it makes them feel good emotionally to eat that way. So everyone's an emotional eater. That's the truth. And saying that, you know, food is not for pleasure, that it's just fuel, that's like saying sex is only for reproduction, which hopefully you don't believe. But if you do, tell me and we'll work on that. So the message today, can we just be over dieting already? Like, as a society, it's time to move on. This is crazy. So I hope that this has helped you. Again, jump into the comments, tell us what's going on. Even if you're watching this after the live video, I will still weigh in and respond, and hopefully other people will too. Thank you, Hillary. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you so much, everyone who's tuned in today. We want to hear from you. We'll be back here next Friday, every Friday at noon Eastern, and we'll talk to you then.